That's where we started.
You're not thrilled?
I try not to feed him, but I'm light on the bird food. Put it that way. They have to eat it all.
There's a squirrel trying to get into a bluebird house yesterday afternoon. And he was bound and determined, and I thought, what is going on? So when I went out to fill the bird feeders, I opened it up, and a red squirrel can fit through the bluebird hole, the 1.5 inch hole, and it was full right up with acorns. And the squirrel was trying to get the acorns, but he was too big, the gray squirrel, to get in. Yeah, he was.
Did you take a picture of them?
No,
I've opened the bluebird houses to clean them out and bison jumped in.
yeah,
It's like, I'll just leave them here if you just stay in.
yeah. Yeah, don't come in the house. Rent free right here. Good.
Well, that might. Mike.
Yep, we're good to go.
All set.
Mhm.
All right. Call to order the Board of Directors meeting for Schoharie County IDA. Roll call
Okay, Burton,
here.
McAllister.
Here.
Finnan, here. Green.
Here.
Moore. Here.
Reading and approval of minutes of September 19th, 2024. Do I have a motion to approve?
Come on. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, minutes are approved. Bills and communications, none. CEO monthly activity report.
All right. Well, I had the opportunity last week to go out to the Walmart distribution center to do a site tour. Very informative. One of the things that I found that was really interesting is, thinking of a distribution center, I thought that they would be carrying everything that Walmart had in there, but it's actually a fashion distribution center. So it's primarily shoes and then some soft lines, which a little bit of apparel and towels, things of that nature. And the thing that was very interesting to find out about this is, I guess, a lot of that, almost all of their product is shipped from Asia. So it comes in via the ports on the Pacific, and then it is transported via rail to Albany. And then once it gets into Albany, it's taken on the trucks back out here to the distribution center. And they have currently right now, they're at about 550 staff that they have working in there. And they run close to 24 hours a day. I think it's like 21 hours. Tuesday through, I believe he said Tuesday through Friday. And then the other days, they're more down to a 12-hour shift. And then I talked to them about, part-time workers during the season, just because of the holidays coming up. And they started a new program, which he said has been very good, is they allow basically, if you can do part-time work as little as 6 hours a month. So he said they've seen a little bit of an uptick in that. So we had a good visit with them. And then I'll update a little further on regarding the pilot program. Because they're up for renewal come June 1st of 2025. So I'll update us a little bit on the discussion that we've had with them on that. We had a very good meeting regarding ag processing with the partners from the county, with SEEK, myself, the county, and IRV here, and Dr. Ferguson. So one of the things that is really kind of been coming about is nut farming. So we met with a gentleman that has he farms hazelnuts and chestnuts, and I guess the issue that they're running into is there is no processing facility nearby. It's down almost all the way in Ithaca for the processing facility. So the discussion kind of got into, okay, well, how can we get that type of business into the county? And the benefit of the nut farm is, as you know, this county is heavily dairy farmed, and as those farms kind of go out, what the nut farms allow is basically you're planting it and you're leaving it for like 5 years and then you go back through and harvest it. So it could be a good opportunity for some of our farms that are, looking to have a different type of income. So we're looking at different studies and areas, and he's gonna come back to us with some different information, and the IDA as well as the county and IRB are gonna see how we can kind of help maybe facilitate some of these things. So that was a very good, interesting discussion that we had, and didn't realize that it was such an undertaking. So we kind of went through the whole process, and that was really neat. Southern Tier 8 has a new economic development coordinator for the area. Can benefit, and part of that is going to be, as you know, next week I did sign up to go to the fall. Great. So with this gentleman, and then there's 2 or 3 other individuals, and I like I said, I don't know the demands there yet, but I think it's something that we could be great. They actually have a machine that comes out and does that, and then they'll go through, and I guess that's the most, again, the most labor intensive part is to harvest them, and it takes about 5 to 6 years, I guess, for the trees to bear. I want to say bear fruit, but bear nuts, I guess, is what you would say. And then there's a whole process on processing them and then storing them. So yeah, that's really, it's pretty intensive. I was very surprised at the amount of, I was just thinking that you'd go out there, I'm used to in Florida picking oranges. You just pick them off the tree and then they put them on a conveyor belt and then they're gone, and then this is, you pick them, then you kind of deshell them and do the whole process through it. So that's, I guess he said the problem that they run into is that, he said they figured this out in Europe, but they haven't figured it out here yet, is that each nut has a different shape. So you need to have a machine almost specific for that type of nut. He's like, so in Europe, he's like, I believe, I want to say Spain or Portugal is where a lot of that happens. They've been able to develop machines that can be utilized for many different types of nuts. He said here, he goes, if you're doing chestnuts and, a different, like a walnut, we wouldn't do that here. It's like the machine's totally different. He goes, so that requires more capital and then different processing on how you get them and everything, and how you would store them as well. So it was quite a, I'm not a nut expert yet, but I learned a lot. So it was very interesting. It really was. I was surprised that it was such a labor intensive practice, so that was and like I said, so we have the battery conference next week, and I will be joining Leo this Wednesday to speak with the Rotary Club. And then we have the Fall IDA Academy, which is November 7th. So we'll have got some busy weeks coming up. And then looking also, there's a New York State Infrastructure Summit at Binghamton on the 13th. I'm going to see if there's still availability for that, because there's actually going to be site developers and different types of, there'll be members from the different IDAs, different site developers, and just different businesses that'll be there. So I think it could be a good way to get out there and get noticed and get talking on things. So that is all I have right now. So it's been out there, been speaking with people, doing a lot of things in-house, getting things straightened up and all set. Sarah's been fantastic, and we've just kind of been tying up our loose ends from the end of the year and getting ready for our renewals in December that come along, and then new pilot renewals and just different things we have coming down the pipe.
So we're gonna be looking at the pilot for Walmart.
They're gonna be, and we can go to that right now. So met with them, they're gonna be completing an application and sending the application in. I told them I wanted, for them to have the application so I can bring it to the board next month at our board meeting, so we can have our public hearing from that. I spoke with the lawyers from Hodgkins Russ, and he kind of laid out a pathway on how we do that. So we're gonna, speaking with them, they're gonna fill out the application. I gave them the old application so they can kind of, not copy it, but basically they know a template on what to use. And then they said, yeah, that'll be no problem. They'll have that submitted. So then we can do our public notice and then have that meeting. And then I spoke with Sandy Manco to let Supervisor Manco know that we're in the process of doing this. And then as soon as I get that application in, then I'll set up meetings with the different municipalities so that way we can get them ready and get any documents drafted that they need to have for approvals on their end, so we can get this all done. And I wanted to make sure, speaking with the attorney, does this give us enough lead time? He said, oh yeah, he goes, he said, oh, you could do it in February or March. I'm like, I'm not gonna cut it back close. I'm like, I prefer to get things done much earlier if need be. So that's the process that we're gonna do.
February, March, if we did what they wanted.
Yeah, exactly. And this is negotiation, it's gonna have to go back and forth a couple of times.
Next item on the agenda is report of the treasurer.
All right, so the cash position report, as you'll see, last month we discussed how we had a CD from Trustco maturing in the amount of 125, 232.60. So once that matured, went over to Trustco, and after discussions from the board, talked with LPL about a money market account that we could put a majority of those funds into, that would allow us to have some liquidity, but again, also collect some decent interest, not just based off the savings account. So spoke with Peter. Peter had a 4.5% money market account. So it's not reflective on here, but that money has been moved into that money market account. So we moved 100 of the 125, 232.60, we moved 100 of that into a money market account with LPL. That'll be dealing with 4.5% interest. And then we have access to that, whenever we need that. It's not locked in for that amount of time. And it was actually, compared to some of the CD rates, it seemed like it was very good, very competitive.
Excellent.
We have one coming due before our next meeting.
Yes.
No, I'm sorry, that's not correct.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's December. So December 13th, and that's actually a rather large one we have with so I'll talk to Peter to see if, I don't know if we can roll it, and I'm concerned if another rate cut comes that we're gonna be, that could affect the CD rates. I don't know, you're the expert in that field.
No, I mean, it's gonna happen.
Mhm.
And money market is a great idea now.
Mhm.
It's gonna- The ones that we've been using have dropped a half a point. Come on.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think though there is an issue. They may not cut like we think they're going to. Especially after their all comments they made, so it's different.
Any other discussion on the cash position report?
And then do you want to move strategic planning to the end, and you can cover all these other ones, and then we'll do strategic planning overlay. If that take the longest time.
Unfinished business, Shad Point.
All right, provided a Shad Point update for everyone. So basically, they're in the process now of starting to get back a lot of the feedback from the different agencies that they've submitted reports to. One of those was the New York State Department of Transportation and the Fairway Authority. They've asked for additional work to be done for the intersection on Mineral Springs Road. So we had to, working with MRB, they're going to get Casero Engineering to do another study of that, not a whole study, but a more detailed study of what that intersection of that interchange would look like. That's going to be $5,900. So that's above the current specs that we have in the plan. And then Lamont is going to do a water system test for the fire flow, and this will allow us to kind of complete the analysis for the engineering of the water lines at the site, and that'll be $1,000. So that We do have money to cover that, but it's just in the scope of work that they have, this is outside of their scope of work, so this is gonna be, a little bit extra on that. Had a good discussion with them, because one of the, concerns is as of January first, there's gonna be new, policies regarding, stormwater and wetland mitigations, and who takes over ownership of that. But after having discussions with MRB, they're very comfortable that we're ahead of the game on that, and we've done our due diligence beforehand. So there's not gonna be, from their point of view, there's not gonna be anything substantial that would alter the site plan when we submit our approvals and everything for that. So we'll have that done, and then the hope is with next month to start the seeker process. So we're gonna meet with Supervisor Hempel and I are gonna meet with representatives from MRB, and then also from his planning board plan and zoning board to go ahead and kind of map out the process and how we're gonna go forward to get these approvals for the seeker application. So that's gonna be next month, and we're at that stage, and kind of asked, I wanted to get an update, all right, when do you see completion on everything regarding their MRV's end of the site development, and they firmly believe that, by May to June of this year, that they'll have everything done and dusted and have it through the process. So then we'll have our complete site plan as far as MRB finished at that time.
So everything is as going as planned then?
Yes, we haven't run into any hiccups yet, knock on wood, that hasn't happened. And so again, just waiting, the agency responses are the ones where we kind of not, that we could run into issues at. So we just, when we get them back, MRB has been very good about getting with me, and I have biweekly update calls with Michael Andovo from MRB to kind of, and his engineers to discuss where we're at, and that way if they kind of see something coming down the road, because the good thing is with their relationships that they have is that they'll give feedback prior to, an official letter sent. So they'll say, Jim, we've gotten feedback that X, Y, and Z could be an issue for us. So that allows us to head things off of the pass and address it before it becomes an issue.
All right. Any other discussion on Shad Point?
I was talking with Warren yesterday, and he's really pleased with what they're doing. They're pushing, I think, as hard as sequence that can possibly push the agencies with the slow part.
Exactly. He's, yep.
Are
And I've been keeping Supervisor Hempel abreast. We talk multiple times a week, just kind of letting him know what's going on with the project. And then, he's been super helpful. He's like, listen, if there's anything I need to do on my end, any, phone calls I need to make or anything, let me know. So we're good, and we're working really in tandem to make sure that this gets done and gets done in a timely fashion as well.
No, the other thing is for reinforce that we're here. Warner was the one that really got this thing going.
Mm-hmm.
And he was with MRB, he was working hard with Scannell. So if he feels comfortable, I think that's a real good sign. If they're working as hard as I can do it.
So listening to all this, when would the site actually be ready to begin construction if the tenant was found?
Good question. So that,
Considering that we don't know what we don't know about the agencies. and
from what Scannell has told me, is like once they kind of identify a tenant, he says the moving of dirt can take anywhere from 6 to 12 months. So once we identify a tenant and we know, and they have control of the property, they've identified a tenant, and he's like, that's what he said that time frame. And he goes, 6 to 12 months, just depending on how fast they want to move, and again, what time of year.
And that's based on some May to June 25 MRP is done.
It could be, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So, you could theoretically be, let's say that MRB is done, and again, it could work concurrently as well. So it just, it could be that MRB has all, Scannell is comfortable with the amount of site work that's been done, and, they're comfortable with the utilities that can be there and the approvals. Then, they may, before that site work is finished, they may decide to, closing the property and have someone, if they have someone available before.
Okay,
Are they working on something with Carolina?
Yes.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none. New business we talked about, you want to go over strategic planning next?
We can do that next, or we can do executive session, whichever way. Executive session is 2 items. I don't think it'll take us very long, so it's up to you how you'd like to go.
Well, let's do strategic planning next.
Sure. All right, I included in everyone's packet, kind of really want to do really an environmental scan discussion about kind of the environment that we're operating here in Schoharie County. And I thought it would be useful to include some information from the fair weather report in there as far as their kind of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Again, it's not necessarily going to really apply to us, but I mean, wholesale apply to us. It applies to us, but we're a smaller part of it, so we may have some crossover on what is going on in the fair weather report, which affects us. So I definitely think we will have crossover. So I thought that that would provide us with some, decent background on that. Really wanted to get in and kind of just open it as a discussion and have everybody, really want to get feedback from you all, because it's going to be our plan as we draft and go forward. When we talk about the economic landscape, one of the things that I was able to do is I went on to the Bureau of Labor Statistics website, and I was able to pull data from Schoharie County and also from non-metropolitan counties within the state of New York. And 2022 was the latest one they had. And this gives us a kind of a good snapshot on what the industries are within the county. And as you can see, government is the highest, followed shortly thereafter by retail trade. So I think that allows us to look at the types of jobs in here, but also where there's areas for growth as well. Because again, government, those jobs, I think it's really you're looking at local governments and the county government. You can see the state government. And I'm gonna check on these numbers. I'm not sure if the local government also includes SUNY Cobleskill as well, because I know they have it broken out in a couple different things. This is information's a little hard to find, but the funny thing is that there is actually, and I'll send it to everyone in the fair weather report, there was something similar to this. Was a pie chart that was done, and the data was from 2017. So I didn't include it because it's so old. But the numbers are relative, the percentages are very close on, like, nothing has really moved that much pre-pandemic as far as the types of jobs that we have here in the county. So I think that allows us to view it through a lens of how we're going to move forward and what we're going to look at. And so in that vein, looking at that snapshot of those jobs, I kind of wrote down, that's our kind of analysis of the economic landscape. And I don't know if anyone had any other thoughts that they wanted to include in that, of what the economic landscape in the county looks like for us.
Well, the 2 largest areas are tax, and the taxes are paid for.
Exactly.
And that's a problem.
Yeah, and if the economy takes a dip, then those jobs are very, and the growth is small in those as well, so there's the ability to grow in that. So yeah, that's definitely good.
I would have thought, just looking at this, the quarrying was all the work going on around the county would be larger than the way it's shown here.
I was surprised at that too. It was a very small number. And there were a lot of things on there that I thought was going to be higher. And I'll be honest, farming is really, the farm employment, I thought that was going to be a higher number as well, but it was, it's,
Constantly growing.
yeah.
That's 30.
Yep, you're right. And if you look at that number from 2017, say, that's a drop. So I think that leads us to almost kind of the previous discussion we were having about, as we know, those farms are kind of going out of commission. How does how do we replenish that among the workforce? Is it through agribusiness? I kind of put some key areas down there. So what is our focus on what areas do we want to go after? I think that allows us to, because again, in the long term, yeah, we want good, high-paying jobs here that, will bring people into the community and will have a knock-on effect. But if we can be more focused on those specific types of industry that we want to bring in here, I think that makes our job easier, just because we know what we're going after. Where, now, I wouldn't say now, I would say that, and this is general, not just for us, I'd say for anyone, for a lot of economic development opportunities and a lot of IDAs is they will kind of just throw things at the wall, and I don't know how effective that is. So it's like, all right, well, no, we know we want to do, and we don't have to be singular in one thing. We can rank what's important to us. And then that's how we go forward and take that approach, other than, yeah, we're open for anything, which we are. We don't want to pass things out, but I think if that allow us to focus on certain industries and certain sectors, and to know that, okay, working with the college will allow us to do, job development and have things ready for employers prior to them coming on board. And I think, if we can identify those programs ahead of time, and that was one of the things I had talked with the gentleman from Southern Tier 8 about, is, he talked about their Alfred State College has they got a Department of Labor work grant to train welders. So they knew that they were having and that's in that area, I guess the rail car industry is very big. So he's like, they knew that this was going to be a need for the employers that were moving in the area. So they worked in conjunction with the college, got a grant from the Department of Labor. Now they're training welders. So he's like, it makes it more attractive for these industries and these employers to move in here because they already have a trained labor pool. So, and the great thing that we have here is SUNY Copal Skill has that type, and they're already doing that, so I've set up I'm meeting with Dr. Terenzio at the end of the month, and that's kind of one of my discussion points is going to be with Dr. Terenzio is, okay, what are some areas that you feel, from the college's standpoint that you could expand in, or, we know that the sweet spot is agribusiness in a lot of those areas. So how do we leverage that and work together? And they've been doing a great job. I meet with Dr. Ferguson probably at least once a week, and I have a chat and to find out what's going on. But I think on my end, it would be more important to have a more strategic focus with the college on what we're going to do and how we're going to get there and what levers are we going to pull.
Question,
Sure.
a couple of times. The first question is, with the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and I haven't gone back and looked at this in a while, but sometimes they did it based on resident of the county. Other times they did it overall. So in other words, they would go to tax and finance and they'd say, okay, how many people does the quarry in Schoharie employ? And they'd be given a gross number. Do you know, because I don't remember if this employment composition is just Schoharie County residents, or is it everybody that's employed in that sector? I can go back and look.
I'll go look, but that's a great point, because one of the things, and I mentioned this when I was at the Walmart distribution site, they have a fair number of people that come in like from Utica as well. So again, what are we capturing here? And if it's, we want to attract the employment and everything, and we want to be a regional partner, but at the end of the day, it needs to be focused on the county.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great point, Gail. I'll look into that and try to find that.
And I figured.
I think we should go back to Walmart and ask them how many Schoharie County.
Yeah, that's kind of part of I was thinking with the pilot program, just ask them really, a more detailed than, we have 550 employees. Well, how many of them actually live in the county?
And, just to give the other side of that, there's no problem with pulling people in from outside the county, because they're gonna buy the gasoline
Sure.
here. They might see a house they like, they might say, oh my God, the school system is so much better than mine, but still, it's Schoharie County residents first, but there is also an upside to bringing other people in. But then the couple comments I have, one of them goes with that. And I have to admit, that was my concern with Highbridge. We started talking about that. You look at transportation and warehousing. just from previous experience working with all three of these counties, that not going to Harry, as you bring new warehouses in, there's not a population to support employment. So what happens is they start to cannibalize from each other.
Mhm.
And somebody offers 25 or 30 cents more an hour, so people go over there. And then they find that the working conditions aren't that great. I want to go back to 25 cents an hour less. So I think we have to be careful that we don't end up like Amsterdam in 1956, where they had nothing but textile mills.
Mhm.
And when one moved out, another moved out. And then Amsterdam didn't look anything like it did in 1955. And only because I grew up there and had that experience of watching friends' parents lose their jobs. You go through Amsterdam now. There's some revitalization, but they had to learn that there were other opportunities besides textiles, besides rubber.
Closing the South plant here. Look what happened to Cobleskill, you know, in Schoharie County. You know, it's all textile based.
Yes,
They decided to pick up and go.
So, and I think along those lines, and I'm writing this down as our kind of our SWOT analysis, that's a great threat. But I also think it kind of lends Gail to, you know, diversity of industry, because like you
Yes,
said, if we have one specific type of industry here and there's an economic downturn or something happens in the market, you know, and again, it almost goes to what Leo was talking about earlier, that it can wipe that out.
Jim, everybody talks about SUNY Cobleskill
Mhm.
and the student population. But where did the students go when they graduate? How many stay in Schoharie County?
Kids stay in Schoharie County.
And how many kids from Schoharie County are attending this?
and we keep them down on the farm once they see gay parade, and that's with everybody. Hopefully people move back, but lost them for 20 years till they decide to come back and say it. So
Well, no, that's a good, very good point, Mike. And I know that I've talked to Dr. Ferguson about that. And, you know, I know one of the things he's mentioned is that they've shifted, you know, I wouldn't say shifted, but that there's been a strong emphasis from the universities to try to provide programs that are going to be specific and needed within this county. So that way we're keeping our best and our brightest here, and they're staying and they're contributing to the county and giving that back. So I think that that's going to be hopefully a paradigm shift where we can provide these things and almost have, you know, as you go further, yeah, it's funny because my wife and I were having this conversation about how, you know, plus years ago when I graduated from college, it was like you just got your degree and then you kind of went out and you figured out what you were going to do. Where now it's more, well, no, you go and you learn and you do an internship and then you're ready when you come out
Yeah.
to be in the workforce like that. Because I think that the generic, you know, if you have a diploma and you go to a job, that's just doesn't exist anymore because of the amount of, you know, whatever it be, whether it be the debt that happens or the just jobs now are much more specific. And I think that in those certain things, so that's a great one.
Exactly.
Yeah, just trying to align what the college is teaching with the strategic plan of what kind of businesses we're trying to bring in. That just makes sense rather than going off in one direction with a plan. And then the college here doing something else. It needs to be tied together.
And I just wanted to add with education, it's not just SUNY Cobleskill, as much as I love SUNY Cobleskill, it's
Right.
BOCES.
BOCES is huge.
BOCES, HFM BOCES, which is very large and very vital. And then we were for a while sort of like the red-haired stepsister for Albany, but they've really improved that relationship and there's a lot more programs out there. But how do we get the programs, make sure the programs are here for the high school students so they don't have to take the bus into Albany or wherever. It's still part of the Albany BOCES program, but
Teach them here.
strengthen the program here.
Well, I think housing is an issue too.
Yes.
Housing is a big issue.
Yeah.
You know, if they're talking about bringing in a lot of people, they're going to need a place to stay, most likely. The other issue is, you know, how many people in Schoharie County are employable.
Mhm.
They have 32,000 or whatever it is, but what part of that is already past employment?
Mhm.
right? How many are in the school systems now and will be coming out in the next 12, 15 years? And what is the projection? Right now, the population, the high school population is nosedive. Not really coming back up. So you take a look at the county and say, okay, I know when Walmart came in down here, I was dealing with the guy that was the general manager, and they set up interviewing in our building. And he said it's really a problem trying to find people in the county to work. He said, we're going out and broadcasting all over the place and widening the circle of 5 counties, 6 counties, just to get the number of people that they were going to employ down here. So,
That goes back to a regional economy. We can't
yeah,
turn a blind eye to a regional economy. It's important, but again, how do we go back and focus on Schoharie County? And some of those reports from Bureau of Labor Statistics and Department of Labor are broken down by employable people, like 16 to 65. It's going to be interesting as more people who are older either want to continue to work or have to continue to work. How do you expand your knowledge of that workforce that isn't included? If they stop at 65 and there are people 70 or 75 that have the skills and want to work, they don't show up in that component. So they're out there. But how do you reach them? How do you know they're there? I'm not sure what the answer to that is. It's a measurement question.
well, workforce is certainly going to be an issue and a key point in all of this. They talk about Hyundai coming into the High Bridge, hearing that Alfred State has already set up that whole program. What are the possibilities that they're going to pick here versus someplace out in western New York that are close to that? So another piece of this, if we know in advance that SCIDA was looking at some particular organization to bring in there, then it would be us to talk to the college and BOCES and say, we need this type of individual that can be employed. That'll be really a key issue.
And I think going back to what Chuck said is absolutely right, is that aligning our strategic plan with BOCES and the college to make sure that we have that overlap. One of the things I did is I went to the Mohawk Valley EDC, and as you know, Dr. Terenzio is one of the chairs on there. So I really looked at their strategic economic development plan to see where we could find this, where we can have overlap. And that's where I came up kind of with those were the key areas that they identified of industries and sectors: agribusiness, tourism, manufacturing, and the STEM intensive industries. Now, do they need to be our 4 priorities? No, but I think if we have some synergy between, what's going on there and what is going on with the college. And again, that goes back to what Chet just said. I think is a great point. If we know that SCIDA is looking at this specific type of industry, okay, then we can work with the college and with BOCES to offer programs so we can get our workforce ready. So, and then not only are we going to have people, make them employable, but it makes them more of an attractive place because we have a talent pool for them to pull.
I think it's important that SCIDA understand once they get into serious negotiations that they include this group into that discussion so that we can help support that sale by bringing in some positive information about training a workforce and helping them with that regard. That just helps SCIDA sell the property. It's another card.
Well,
to play.
and also going along with that SCIDA knows that we will activate education at BOCES level and at the college here to address whatever workforce they need. I think if they know that ahead of time, they can use that as a selling point and say, college here, all.
It goes back to college, it's just degree programs.
Exactly.
Short term, 6 months. Programs, that helps, maybe a 2-year program.
The educational projection is not so much on college degrees going forward, it's more on the trades. And it's interesting. more people are heading in that direction. And the other thing is what percentage of the college, of the high school population in Perry County actually goes
And stay.
and stays there after 2 years, 1 year, or whatever.
Oh. You averaged out the people who stayed in school. They dropped out for a reason, they took fewer classes.
Another thing, the way the state system schedules the classes.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
They get another year of income from the
The
same
class you
student.
need to graduate is
No
not
offense.
offered until next semester.
Yeah, no, that's great.
I have one more question, Jim.
Mhm.
On the report, on the last page of text, page 17, analysis, to find 4 components. But we only got the first one.
Oh, okay, I apologize, I cut that, you know what I'm gonna do is, for everyone that has not seen it, I will just send you the complete report, so you have it. And you can read through it, it's got a lot of good information in there.
Pretty
And,
interesting.
you know, a lot of things which struck me reading this is that it's the issues that were initially identified they recur as well, so it's kind of, you know, it's, I don't know if it's a self-fulfilling prophecy or just, I think, but then reading through some of the things and, you know, having discussions with, you know, our Spark partners with Seek and, you know, one of the things that we've done in Spark is we've kind of taken that report and we've, you know, identified what each of us in Spark kind of is almost responsible for in this report, and how, you know, how do we implement goals that are measurable, so that way, you know, we know we're all working in concert with each other, but we're picking up our end of what needs to be done as well. So we talked about this for 2 hours yesterday. We got John Cresamano, who's the economic coordinator for the county, is kind of spearheading this, and he developed a spreadsheet. He's like, okay, these are the components and the different buckets that we want to be in. And, you know, it's funny that we're having this discussion here as the IDA, but on a parallel track, we're almost having the same discussion as Spark partners. So that way I think we're all, you know, coalescing around the same thing to make sure that we're not working in a silo or working in a vacuum, reduplicating efforts. And I know that was one of the things that was identified in that report, was that, you know, don't work in silos, and that can occur too much. So I think one of the things with this coalition that we've established is it allows us to have conversations and see really, you know, what wheelhouse is this going to be in. And then once we identify that, when we're approached, we'll know that, you know, myself as the IDA, if someone comes in and they have, you know, certain questions, or they have a project that they're looking to do, I'll help them with the levers that I have, but I'll know that, okay, these different partners can do this for you, they can do that for you. And so it almost is, you know, kind of a one-stop shop, instead of someone coming and then we're like, oh, well, yeah, you talk to, you know, I don't handle this, it's Seek that handles it. No, it's okay. Yep, Seek handles it. I'm gonna do you know, a soft handoff to Julie, this is X, Y, and Z. They're looking to do such and such. You know, we've discussed, these are IDA programs that, you know, could benefit them. And so then that allows that synergy to happen, and for us to kind of move forward and almost make it easier for those people that are looking to either expand their business or move new businesses.
Just wanted to say one more thing about that. And, you know, I looked at this report again. I remember meeting when they were doing it back in 2017. And one of the things that I think they missed then, and maybe it's partly because of my old job, they really didn't look at the workforce development.
You're
board.
exactly right.
And I mean, and I met with Scott 2 or 3 times, and we were other workforce organizations. Now, I know it has changed in the 3 years since I've been gone. I don't know how active Cobble Skill is, but Cobble Skill is only going to be as active as we give them referrals. And if they've got money for on-the-job training, if they've got money for career and technical education in SUNY, why not try to access that population, figure out how to do that? Because those are some of the people who don't go to college or don't get training, because if they're lucky, they've got daycare. They're a single parent, and maybe they've got daycare, They sure don't have money for tuition, so if there's some way we can seek out the board, and that would be Gina Papa now, but the local public school office, and see if they have money from it, and it changes every year. you
Sure.
know, And if you don't use it, you can only roll so much of it into the next year, so if they have money that they need to spend, we want them to spend it on our workforce.
Just keep that included in the conversation. You know,
Yeah.
A lot of that is what IRB or Scott is involved in also. And he's brought in quite a bit of money, grant money that focuses in certain areas. So getting back to what is it that we can do as IDA and what our focuses have to be.
Mhm.
We're talking about areas here that really aren't within our realm to deal with. You know, we can deal with attracting business such as we are with Shad Point.
Mhm.
In order to do that any further, we need land acquisition. And that would be of interest to employers or companies. We can deal with housing. That also takes land acquisition and developers, and we have incentives to bring them in. And we can do it with grants by bringing in businesses that might be related to whatever Skinell brings in or whatever comes into Highbridge. So, but we have to be focused on those areas as IDA and with our strategic plan. And as Jim said, you know, we have what we deal with, and SEEK has what they deal with, the destination market has what they deal with, the college has what they deal with, and what is our piece? Our focus, and we need to know what's happening in all those other areas so that we are in accordance with them. So it's good to take a look at the fair weather report. Question is, how do we fit into that
Exactly.
to make that happen?
No, and thank you, Chet, for bringing, because that's really where I was trying to go, and you put a lot more eloquently than I did, and that allows us to focus on those things. So, you know, okay, we talk about incentives, site prep development, housing, and then, you know, working with our partners for workforce development to help them, you know, so those kind of four things all tying together. And one of the things that Shane Nicola mentioned to me is that that the Tompkins County IDA has taken a really kind of unique approach to how they can maximize their levers to do housing. So I've reached out to their IDA director to kind of talk to them. Okay, well, you know, it's different, but are there things that they're doing that, you know, maybe fit in with what we can do to help that as well? And how does that play, and how does that fit in with you know, the county's housing study and things of that nature? Because I think that, again, that was, and you brought it up, and Sarah did as well, that housing is the, you know, if you don't have housing, you know, it's the old what they say in Field of Dreams, build it and they will come. You know, it's kind of like, well, no, we've got to, you know, we've got to figure out how to solve that problem. And not all on us to solve it, but if we can, you know, we can lend something to the equation.
Well, I think these other entities need to understand what we have to offer, just being an IDA entity. You know, what we're able to do for them as a conduit to get the project done. And I'm not sure that everybody does.
No, I'm sure they don't. Good point, Sarah. So we have our finished strategic plan. We can almost condense that down into a talking piece that when Jim goes out, you can say, this is what we can do for you. But within that, we need to have our own set of goals and tasks that need to be accomplished. And our timelines for doing that in each of those areas. Our focus is going to be in strategic plan development.
I think going back to the workforce, if you're targeting that younger workforce, I think, you know, outside work interests matter too.
Oh, gosh, yes, absolutely.
So whether it's skiing, golf, I mean, these extracurricular things matter to that age group. And that's where they're gonna look first to find a job.
That's an excellent point.
Well, the college one, this is going back probably about 10 years or more. I've been gone that long. We had, economic developers come in. And they basically said that this area has all of those things that Sarah just mentioned. It has recreation, you have the Adirondacks, they're centrally located between New York City, Montreal, and Boston, and with good transportation in and out. You have an excellent school system. You have all of those ingredients. There's one thing you don't have: workforce. We have all of the surrounding, prompts to bring people in. But when it comes to the workforce, we have a problem. And I don't think that's changed.
No, I agree.
To go back to what Sarah said, we know all those things are there.
Yes.
The
But
marketing
do,
on it.
we've got to do something glossy. We've got to have marketing, even if it's online and people just flip through it online. I mean, I know how long it takes to Wyndham. I know how long it takes to get to Albany or, to, Saratoga or even to
Limerick, whatever.
Canada,
20 minutes.
To the, yeah. But, the people who, that's coming out. And some of the kids, I hate to call them kids, but some of the young people who are here don't really have a clue.
And they want a few things in the downtown. Speaking of
Yes.
somebody with kids in the late 20s and early 30s, they don't need a lot, but a couple more coffee shops, a couple of,
Nightclubs.
yes, right?
I mean, look at Oneonta. My son went there and what he did for nightlife and what there was just in the village that attracted the kids.
But they're
Chicken and
not
egg.
gonna come or stay here if it's not, and my kids are not high needs, but just a little more in some
Yeah,
of these
just a little.
communities.
But even at the golf course, it wasn't so expensive for kids to, because my son's a golfer, but, he goes all around, but it's like they could do some, I don't know if maybe they do have a program. The school has something affiliated.
Schools had something affiliated. It used to say
But then
school
after
doesn't
that
really
ends.
have that ends,
Yes.
when that ends, there's no introductory membership.
Right.
Yeah, there is.
Is there an introductory membership? Yeah, I didn't know that. Not being interested in that.
Ever.
Michael's my life. Michael's.
They're more expensive hobbies.
Well, even going there. I mean, maybe land could be designated for trails.
Yes.
Like, we travel,
Yes,
how far do we travel to take our horses and ride?
yeah.
That's a lot of horse
Yes,
trails.
they do. Yeah.
That's really not far away.
Well, this has given me some really good, I think,
Yes,
information.
Hobby.
My kind of plan going forward is we're gonna do this in every meeting so what I'll, is I kind of have our pillars, I think that we talked about, which is, the things that the IDA can provide, those incentives to the industry that's coming in, that's what they're going out. So that's one of our, that's existing here. So those are, one of the pillars. We talk about site prep and development and land acquisition, housing, and then, workforce development with our partners in conjunction with industry that's coming in. So I think that those are, 4 things that I can work off of and then start crafting, maybe the next time, is now we know that these are, some areas of focus we want to have. So then we know that, all right, these are our focus areas. And then I think, when we meet together next month, I'll maybe do a SWOT analysis of this on, on those different focus areas. And then that, I think, could be good for the discussion on how we want to craft that strategic plan. But again, if, something comes up after that you think about, and you're like, hey, Jim, maybe we want to consider this in, please shoot me an email. So this is going to be a living, breathing document. But I really, what I want to do today is kind of get the conversation going and see where everybody was at. And it sounds like for them, I would say, not surprisingly, because I think that's why you're all on this board. is that, a lot of the issues that you see are consistent amongst each other, and it's been consistent for a period of time. So that's good, because we're not seeing any outliers, so I think if we know what the problems are, then we can start identifying ways that the IDA can, help them provide a solution. So that's what's I hope the plan will allow us to do.
Yes, so we're gonna end up talking about, we have a mission statement. We have a vision. And once we have those two, and keeping everything that Jim just said in mind, then we're gonna set up our goals around those areas. And then we're gonna set up our tasks to meet those goals, and that would be our strategic plan.
And and I'll send out the, kind of our mission statement that we have now. Chet, do you think that we need to reexamine that?
I think we should take a look at it. I think we might want to tweak that a little bit, knowing what we know now and just a discussion that we had.
Mhm.
But just so we all understand what that mission is and how we fit into the rest of the other partners in the county.
It's good. I mean, lots of organizations revisit it every year. Doesn't mean that they change it,
Sure.
but they revisit and they say, yeah, this is still us. Or, oh, wait a minute, maybe. So
We're supposed to do it annually.
are we supposed to?
So if that's something we could do before our annual meeting and have a new draft or.
Yeah, I'll send out the
That's what-
information right after this meeting, what the mission is. And then I think we can, I don't want to send them both out, because if the mission changes, then the vision's gonna change. So I'll send the mission out, and then we can kind of look at it. I'll take your feedback, and then I think next month we can have that discussion on is it good? Do we want to keep it the way it is? Do we want to add to it? How do we want to change it? And then that can force the other ones, the vision, the goals, and the tasks.
And Gail had an excellent point. We should have a county profile in terms of what we have to offer
Mhm.
in a glossy document.
It's funny, I thought of that as one of the first things that I thought of, because when I was at the city of Clearwater, they used to basically, we call a sell sheet. So you would have, these are the demographics, these are what you have, and then, if I'm talking to, someone from an industry, I can pass this to them, okay, this is what Schoharie has, and I think that you're right, Chet, I think that that's something that, I'm willing to, with, the partners from Spark and everything, is to take the lead on, and then we'll craft it from the IDA standpoint, because of what we can offer and how we can help. And then, again, working with that. So I think that's a really good point. I'm gonna bring that up with our, in the next meeting, and I'll start looking at some templates that we can use for that.
Yeah, and I don't think we need to recreate the wheel, because even other counties that are adjacent have those, and they may have that profile.
Yeah, definitely.
And even the region would have that profile. So I think we can draw from that and not have to sit down and kind of rethink this stuff out. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, and the good thing is the Mohawk Valley EDC has some really good stuff in there. So
I'm sure.
I'll take a look at that and pull some information from that.
All right. Good start on
This
this.
is great. Thanks, everyone. That was great.
All right. So the thing we have left is the executive session.
Perfect, because I have a 10:15. Or what? You're glad you accommodated me. Thank you.
See you better.
You too.
Thank you. Excuse me, sorry. Yeah.
You have to do a motion.
Oh, yeah, that's true. We do.
Do I have a motion?
So
to go
moved.
into the section?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed, hearing none, motion carried. You all set?
Yep.
Motion to, come out of executive session? We have to do that.
Oh, on the camera, yeah.
So repeat yourself. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Motion carried. Motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Motion carried. That was a great meeting.